Heavens above. What in the world is going on with the reaction to this Path of Exile 2 release? I'm actually serious. This is not rhetorical. This is a genuine question immediately posed to everyone here and now watching this video who has played Path of Exile 2 Dawn of the Hunt. I played for about 4 hours yesterday, reached the trial of the Sekima, got my arse kicked, and had to peace out as my wonderful family arrived home from a 5-day trip to another state. After I tucked my daughter into bed, I logged into Discord, Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook to quickly scope out the community reception to everything in 0.20, and it was a Lake of Kalandra level freakout. I am not jesting at all, and I'm going to show you. And now the confusion, I'm being real here. It did confuse me initially. I thought it was all about the terrible crashes, and those did suck, but Grinding Gear Games were fixing them ASAP, of course. Then I realized they were more about gameplay, and it did surprise me as I was actually, yes, having a good time, enjoying the difficulty, and loving the Huntress, using spears, and playing on the new version up to midway through Act 2. Yes, the spear was very involved, very early on, and quite fresh and different compared to other weapons. But I was here for it and was embracing the playstyle and the new Path of Exile 2. I didn't even feel like it was much different compared to my very first playthrough of Act 1 back in December in the early access launch, but others, well, they certainly did. And well, last time I covered something like this near launch, I got in a little bit of trouble. So we're only going to be sticking to areas of the game where I have experience, meaning the campaign, the Huntress, and spears. Let's examine this reaction and see what's going on, as I think I am still seriously confused. Or at least I was, until I also saw the emergency patch notes Grinding Gear Games released all throughout the night last night. We have one post right here, the top of the Path of Exile 2 subreddit, Mark and Jonathan, you guys honestly effed up. We have this guy saying, I feel like a white mob in PoE 2 right now. We have this person saying, explain to me why the F 99% of support gems have negative part, why the F ascendancies have notables with negative effects, why the F talents on the tree have negative effects, what kind of game design is this? And I do understand that, especially in terms of attack speed. I don't think people are going to balloon out of control that fast. I think it's more for end game scaling stuff, but in the early game, it does feel really bad. There's this guy saying there's zero power fantasy element. I don't feel like I'm getting any stronger as I level. It may as well just have scaled leveling at this point, as it's that bad. I was not feeling this. See, I was not in Act 1. I got the background footage going through my Act 1 playthrough. I was using Explosive Spear, Bangs of Frost, and Disengage, and I was popping stuff, packs with quite ease. The only things that gave me a bit of trouble sometimes were rares that had elemental resistance, auras, but that's it. You know, I downed every single boss. First try, I was playing hardcore solo self-found. Count Geonor took around 5 minutes. It was a pretty spicy fight. I almost died a few times, and I ended up dying in Act 2 against the Engineer. But everything was falling pretty fast until I got to the trial of the Sekima, and I decided, okay, we're just gonna try it, underleveled, undergeared, give it a go. And I got stuck on these rares for like 5 minutes, and it was absolutely ridiculous, but I beat them. And then I went to fight Rattlecage, and well, I'll have the background footage rolling. He smashed me. He absolutely smashed me, as someone on Twitter so kindly pointed out to me, thinking they were dunking on me. I fully embrace that. I got obliterated. Then we have the subtle dunk here. No, it's a great collab with EHG. I personally cannot wait for the new Last Epoch season. By the way, I'm interviewing the Last Epoch developers next Tuesday. See you there on Twitch and YouTube. Then we got this guy. The most incomprehensible thing is why they don't want us to have fun in a single player game. Beating mobs, there are other ways to keep players. I don't know. I need to see gameplay. You guys need to understand what is going on. This was not happening to me in Act 1, and I was using the janky spear of the Huntress. What is happening? Bad luck? Bad mods? I don't know. And then we have this absolutely amazing meme. Welcome to the 020 experience. Players, stop making leveling so slow. Grinding Gear Games, you know what? I'm gonna make leveling even harder. I didn't feel that much difference between my first playthrough and 010, and now I actually felt like it was easier because I was stuck on Geonor for an hour and a half last time I played, and this time I downed him first time on the Huntress. I got stuck on other bosses first time. And this time I was just going through it very smooth on the Huntress, mind you. And I just used the same few set of skills, that same combination, and I was zooming through until I got to the Trial of the Sekima. This person brings up a point. The crazy thing is that the current leveling experience in both PoE1 and PoE2 is absolutely not an indicator of what endgame is like at all. It's pretty much the exact opposite for no reason. It prevents new players from experiencing the actual fun gameplay both games have to offer, and it punishes returning players by having to go through a pointless, painful slog with zero upside. Totally disagree here. In Path of Exile 1, you start zooming, end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2, easily, especially if you're on certain skills. And in Path of Exile 2, we don't know what the end game actually feels like. I don't know if many people have reached the end game yet, but it might feel very different. In 010, totally right, totally on point here. But I'm also saying I really like this gameplay. I am having fun. Is anyone else having fun? I did watch 2 reactions to the patch. I watched Rax's, was not having fun, and I watched Ziggy D's, was having fun. Now, what is the difference there? Well, both Ziggy D and I are paid Grinding Gear Games shills. I mean, you just can't make that stuff up. This was obviously a joke. Or was it? Then we also had this meme post right here. It was a picture of a dwarf in a wheelchair from a popular TTRPG and them saying, this is how the campaign feels like. It looks like a lot of these posts are being removed by the moderators. Oh, and if you scroll down, here is the actual image. I gotta say it, I think Grinding Gear Games really screwed up here by not making balance changes mid-league, because people got so used to blowing everything up in endgame and to the Twink experience, where you passed on items to your characters, and on second playthroughs it was way easier. They want the campaign to be difficult. They wanted it to be more engaging. And yes, I do agree there are some instances wherein you can smooth out that curve. And as we're going to see with emergency patch notes, they already have done so. But this is obviously an exaggeration, right? And then we have this post right here, the top of the PoE2 subreddit right now. Jonathan Mark, this ain't it. I was going to take a day or 2 off work to play the game, but I removed my vacation I had put in. I'd rather just go into work than play this game right now. Reducing skill damage, adding cooldowns, delays, and removing components of skills has really watered this game down. Path of Exile is supposed to have exciting abilities that feel great to use. The combat is supposed to feel good. This doesn't feel good at all. Every single nerf that you did needs to be reverted. Obviously, the mega outliers are fine to nerf, you know what those are. And the delays and cooldowns that were added needs to get removed. I don't think even the people who want this slow and meaningful combat like this is soulless. Oh boy, here we go. So, like I said, I've only played Huntress and Spears in the new patch, but it sounds like there have been a slew of super changes added to the other classes and weapons that are pissing people off. But I don't think that's the real problem. I think the real problem is right here. This is something that Grinding Gear Games is doing wrong, in my opinion. The game can still be difficult, the game can still be engaging, but this needs to change. I'm pretty stark on at this point, especially in the end game. Doo-doo of Akkad, you are bang on. Thank you for upvoting this, Reddit, because it's right. If they want slow, meaningful combat, they need to address monster speed and damage. You can't have it both ways, where you nerf the player and not the monsters. Bang on, 100% right. Grinding Gear Games is totally in the wrong for this. I do think that scaling needs to be fixed entirely. There's some crazy stuff going on there, especially with certain rare monster modifiers and the way it affects the rare monster minions, wherein the rare monster minions are stronger than the rare monsters. That is absolutely wild. I don't think that's good design, and I think in the end game, once more people reach that, it's just going to become even more apparent that monsters are just way too fast. Can you disagree with me on that point? I think even people who absolutely hate the game and people who absolutely love the game can find middle ground on that point and agree. But people who hate me will still find a way to be mad at me. Then we have this guy right here, another huge post on the subreddit. I don't know how else to say it, it's just not fun. Nothing I do to my build or passives feels like I'm living the fantasy of getting stronger. It feels like just RNG to get some insane gear to do good damage, not my actual play. I'm playing well, but the payoff feels so bad to do combos. The combos feel annoying and clunky to pull off. I have 4,700 hours in PoE1 and 300 in PoE2 010. I don't know, this just ain't it. Started Huntress, by the way. Other classes are probably having more fun. Doesn't sound like it. I don't know. My monk last patch is level 98 and was a blast. Now, the thing with Huntress and the current mechanics of Huntress, you have to parry to get those frenzy charges. And I do agree that can feel clunky if you don't want to, especially if you don't want to do it. And especially if there's the auto aim assist thing that's happening here, wherein the monster you parry is not the monster that the disengaged hits. So you do the disengage, but you don't get the frenzy charge because you didn't activate the parry debuff on the proper monster. That's funky, and that should definitely be fixed. I did get the hang of it eventually, and it felt a lot better. But even without the frenzy charges, I was blasting through Act 1 using Fangs of Frost, Explosive Spear, Disengage. So I don't know. Of course, things can always be improved, but it really sounds like there's a big differential here of people who just don't want to use multiple skills or 2 to 3 skills versus people who are perfectly fine with doing that and embracing it, right? I'm embracing it. You know, a few other people in my chat and in the comments, they're embracing it and they're enjoying this style of gameplay. Sure, there are funky things, but the core of it is still fun to those people. To a lot of people, though, as you can see here, 2,800 upvotes. If we just go to the PoE2 subreddit now, if we just go to the main page, every single post is negative. Every single post is pissed off at GGG. People are not liking it. And I could admit that. I could admit that I was having fun. I was enjoying it. But it seems like the most vocal people, this level of freakout is unprecedented for PoE2. People are saying it's comparable to launch day. It is not comparable to launch day. This is far greater than launch day freakout for Path of Exile 2. I would compare it. This, by the way, is absolutely ridiculous. Taking streamers out of context and just putting them in this collage. Silly people. This is comparable to the Lake of Calandra debacle from Path of Exile 1, which historically 100% chased out GGG from interacting with the Path of Exile community. Basically for years, if not forever, in that same way that they used to interact with the community. This comment right here on Rax's video on the state of the Dawn of the Hunt by Darth microtransaction kind of exemplifies what this person was talking about. My character feels the same at level 2 and 50. Now, like I said, I'm not currently there. I'm midway through Act 2, but I do understand that sentiment that it appears that there's no power creep or power progression going on, and the monsters are just overpowering the character. And I think the buffs and nerfs, they focused on characters. They didn't really focus on monsters. And I think that is the bulk of the issue here. And I really hope Grinding Gear Games does see and understand that. I think the giant thing is the speed of monsters, and that's it. I think if the speed of monsters is adjusted, everything else will feel much better. Oh, and the crashes need to be fixed, of course. That's what I thought this whole freakout was going to be about. I thought it was going to be about the crashes and people not being able to connect. Nope. It was about the actual campaign gameplay experience. The crashes were terrible. Hopefully they're fixed ASAP. Many of them already are. Now you'd think if monster speed were the issue, maybe Grinding Gear Games would acknowledge it. Maybe they would do something about it. Well, they have not. Instead, they did quite a few hotfixes last night, including this one right here, 020 hotfix 6. This basically reduced all monster life in the campaign by 25%. And it actually is funny because instead of reducing the monster life by 25%, it made all monsters start at 75% life instead. 75 out of 100, which is crazy. Definitely an emergency patch in the middle of the night. And they actually reduced the rogue exile health by a further 40% and caused life regen monster mods to only appear at level 65 plus. They did not change in the speed. I mean, that is a more long-term change, but the snap reaction is massively decreasing monster health in the campaign. I suppose that is a short-term solution, but I don't think it's going to solve the actual crux of the problem, especially in endgame. I think when people start to get to endgame, if the gameplay experience, especially with Huntress, and I'm keying in on Huntress because you need to combo, at least I think you do, you need to parry with the Huntress to actually utilize her mechanics. It's gonna feel really bad if the monsters are zooming at you and projectiles are flying at you from a million different directions and everything's just happening at warp speed and you need to parry to get frenzy charge. It's just gonna feel bad. But I haven't experienced that yet, so I'm not gonna talk on it. I just think it's going to feel bad, and Grinding Gear Games should change that. Now, before the patch launch, I predicted that Path of Exile 2 would hit a peak number of 300,000 concurrent players across the launch weekend on Steam. Yesterday, it hit 228,898 players, and right now, as of 28 minutes ago, this morning, it's at 220. We might hit that 300,000 mark. It's a Saturday. I don't know, but lots of players are immediately going and saying, wow, look, game dead. Not even hitting half the number of players that it hit on launch day. But I don't see this as a nail in the coffin. I do see tons of people upset, and I think that this number was perfectly expectable by us, by Grinding Gear Games, and I don't think this is a sign of things to come or anything like that. We will have to see. Maybe I'm totally wrong. The negativity that is rampaging currently across the internet is kind of wild, and that will probably put off more people from returning to Path of Exile 2. So that 220, this might be the peak. This might be the peak for now, and we'll have to see what 0.3 looks like when we're totally getting the Druid. Once again, another joke. Just one more initial take for you guys from my friend Darth Microtransaction, who posted this after a marathon session playing the Warrior in Path of Exile 2. I don't know if I'm DS washed, but the campaign feels a lot slower in Path of Exile 2 Dawn of the Hunt League. I kind of feel like my level 2 and level 50 damage and clear feels exactly identical right now. Gonna sleep on it, come back and do another marathon session and see how I feel. Currently, I don't feel any sense of power progression. Again, I could just be DS and it's day one. Gonna give it a bit, get to maps, play a couple characters, do some pinnacles, and then give a full take. Just how I feel end of stream 1. Then if you go through the comments, a lot of people are echoing this exact sentiment, which is why I'm really trying to be more constructive and measured than I was all the way back at the early access launch. If so many people are echoing this and experiencing this, I do feel like something has to be off here. Maybe when I was playing yesterday, I just experienced pure luck, especially in Act 1, where I was getting a lot of good drops. I was getting a lot more currency than before. I was getting good items, and I was easily taking down bosses, and packs, as you've seen in the gameplay, were basically just exploding using Explosive Spear and Fangs of Frost. It is entirely possible that I lucked into an excellent combo again, just like I did all the way back in 010 with the Monk and Tempest Flurry and Charged Staff. Or perhaps it's just because I'm a pure GGG shill, and all I want to do is praise Path of Exile 2. Because that's all this video was, right? Exiles? All jokes aside, I'll be playing more today. I'm probably live streaming right now on Twitch and YouTube. Go check it out. And if you liked the video, make sure to give it a like, share your opinion below. And if you want more Path of Exile 2, Last Epoch, PoE 1, Diablo 4, just kidding, content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video, my fellow Exiles. Stay sane. Seriously, please try to stay sane.